This is music, and these are some of my favorite concerts ever. YouTube's favorite DJ, Noise JAson SKilz, has reached 800 plus subs. Congratulations. Do check out his channel. It's a vinyl community channel. He does lots of updates. He also does record shopping videos, and he does these cool live streamed DJ sessions, and he covers everything from techno to hip hop to extreme metal. You name it, he got it. So I really like his channel, and I want to celebrate that he's reached 800 subs, and this is a perfect opportunity because he's launched a contest thread kind of thing. The theme is live concerts, and he'd like us to do a top 5 to top 15 of our favorite concerts we've ever been to, and also talk about some artists we would love to have seen live but we haven't seen live. Now, to be honest, I can't do a top whatever. I can't rank my favorite concerts. I've been to so many of them. Back in the day, we did a lot of underground gigs. We went to almost every week with local bands in local venues. And I've been to massive concerts in stadiums. I've seen Depeche Mode live, AC/DC, Metallica, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, Judas Priest, the Rolling Stones, a lot of those massive bands. So I can't really do a top whatever, but I can talk about some of my favorite concerts I've been to, and that's what I'm going to do. The first one I'm going to mention is Death Angel. I don't remember the year, but it was at Amabiu. The bill was Suicidal Angels, Death Angel, Exodus, and Creator, and that's a hell of a bill. It was on a Monday night, and I think Death Angel, they were the second band to take to the stage, and I think they expected it to be an empty venue, so they were shocked when they came out and saw it was full, and that just lit a fire in them that kept burning throughout their entire show. High energy performance, fantastic connection with the audience, just an awesome show. One of my favorite shows ever. They really blew Exodus and Creator out of the water. They did a great job too, Exodus and Creator, but I left halfway through the Creator show. I didn't have a problem with their show. I was just spent. I'm sure a lot of you recognize that experience. Another favorite concert and that's actually also Amabiu, that was Overkill, I think, touring the Electric Age album. The venue wasn't full, but it was still pretty packed. It was just great to see them on stage. They were having fun. Bobby Blitz was having a blast. You could see that. He was high energy. And I really like how they managed to capture that distinct bass sound that they have on their albums. They captured that live. That was pretty cool too. So that was another amazing show. Also at Amabiu, Fate's Warning, I don't remember the tour. The venue here was only half full, but that meant I could stay up front throughout the entire show. And that's just one of those shows where the music speaks for itself because they're such amazing musicians. They did have a great connection with the audience, but here was like the music. And just watching those amazing musicians perform, that was just, an out-of-this-world experience. And I had a similar experience with Cynic. It was before Sean Reinhardt passed away. The bill was Cynic headlining, then Chip Spanner, and then some other band that was supposed to open the show, but they had to cancel. So they just moved Chip Spanner into that band's slot, and they moved Cynic into the Chip Spanner slot. And that meant that both bands, I think, could add a couple of songs to their sets because, they had more time now. Chip Spanner did a great job, for sure, like instrumental, progressive stuff. But Cynic again, I was just out of this world just watching those three amazing musicians perform. The music carried that entire show. They had great stage presence and all that stuff, but just experiencing musicians of that level, that's just amazing. And a fun story was that afterwards, Paul Masvidal posted a message on us, I don't know, some social medium, talking about what a great show it was. And there was one guy in the audience way up front who was just lost in the music, and he was a ball of energy, and it was very inspiring to the band just to see this guy just in his own world, just living the music. And then there was somebody responding, dude, that was the singer from Mew. So it's just a pretty cool little story. So yeah, great show there too. I've seen Iron Maiden a bunch of times. My favorite Iron Maiden show was A Matter of Life and Death on that tour, because they didn't go back to the well, they didn't pander to the audience and play the classics. They played the entire album, and I really liked that album. So I had a blast. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. A lot of the other members in the audience complained afterwards. I was like, come on, man. If you want to hear the old classics, listen to the albums. It's a band. They still do new material. Of course, they should play their new material. So I enjoyed that. That's my favorite Maiden show that I've seen. I also want to mention as a favorite show, and I'm going to cheat here because I'm going to put two shows together, but Mercyful Fate, back in the 90s, supporting Metallica on the Black Album tour. The bill was Metallica, Suicidal Tendencies. They did a great job too, and I think it was Gun, and then some band that was supposed to open the show who canceled, so they got Mercyful Fate in last minute, and I think they had to fly King Diamond in from the States last minute. So Mercyful Fate opened the show, and it was just amazing to see King Diamond live with his face paint. It was the first time I saw him live. His face paint, his outfit, the microphone, and Danner Sherman, just that guitar duo. It was just an amazing show. They, to quote Mr. Boulder, pissed all over Metallica. Metallica seemed lame compared to that. Suicidal did a great job though. But yeah, and the other concert I'm just going to kind of lump in there too is way later. King Diamond live at the Copenhagen Festival. It was after his heart surgery, so he had recovered. He had stopped smoking. He's gotten in shape. His voice was fantastic after he stopped smoking. That improved his voice a lot. So he just sounded awesome, and it was an elaborate kind of stage setting. You had like the house I think it was Abigail that performed live. You had the house in the background. You had a big iron gate. You had an elaborate kind of stage scaffold so they could stand on different levels and play. It was very theatrical. It was amazing. So I'm cheating and I'm lumping those two concerts together. I'm cheating on the next one too. Invocator, I've seen them live many times, but there are two concerts that stand out to me. One of them was way back in the 90s. I think it was at a venue called Magazine. They supported Paradise Lost. They were touring Weave the Apocalypse, that album. And of course they played some classics from Excursion Demise, and a lot of songs from Weave the Apocalypse, and they played one song from the next album, and I think that was their live debut of that song. So that was special. High energy, but also high musicianship. They had Perle on lead guitar, and I think both Pierce on drums and bass. So that was just like a lightning in the bottle kind of lineup there. It was amazing. They did a stage diving contest. That was the first time I ever did stage diving. Just a fantastic show. And again, they kind of pissed all over Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost were just boring after this. We left after 3 songs, and there were even some Paradise Lost fans who went, no, we're not having this. This is too boring. We don't want to see Paradise Lost like this boring. We want to see them when they are a bit more on point. So yeah, fantastic. And the other Invocator concert that stands out to me was way later. I think it was in 2014. It was at a venue called Vega here in Copenhagen. And it was kind of a weird reunion tour called Headbangers Ball Tour. So Invocator headlined, and then you had Raunchy, and then some other kind of, I think, kind of metalcore band or something. And Raunchy and that other band, they appealed a lot to younger people. So when they played, the venue was packed. But those young kids, they didn't know Invocator, so they left. So when Invocator took to the stage, the venue was half empty. The people who were left were like dudes and dudettes in the 30s and 40s and 50s, people that listened to Invocator back in the day. And it was kind of like, when they took to the stage, we kind of looked around, and there was this implicit understanding, yes, all those stupid kids have left, and we can enjoy Invocator in peace from all the drama that all those kids always create. So that was a great gig. They brought Jakob Schulz on stage from Maceration. They brought him on stage to play the lead guitar on some of the Excursion Demise songs. They brought Perle on stage to play the lead guitar on the Weave the Apocalypse and Dying to Live songs. And they also did some songs with the lineup from the Through the Flesh to the Soul. And that was just a fantastic gig. Awesome. Just a bunch of old people going nuts over Invocator. That was great. I think I've told this story before, but one of my favorite festival concerts was Grave at Copenhagen. It was a sunny day, but when Grave took to the stage, the skies turned black and it started just raining down in torrents, and you got a thunderstorm. But it was perfect for your Swedish HM2 death metal. The band, they were struggling, but the audience were having a blast, just mushing up front in their rain ponchos. Some people had been, smart enough to bring Wellingtons in their backpacks as well. So you got people just going crazy in Wellingtons and rain ponchos, and other just getting soaking wet. It was a great gig. I enjoyed it. I don't think the band enjoyed it though. Another great concert and one of my favorites at Copenhagen. I think it was at the first Copenhagen, and it was Immortal. And I think they were the very first black metal band to play at Copenhagen, at least at that version of Copenhagen. And I think it was the first one, but I can't remember. And the timing was perfect. It was just when, dusk hit, and it was getting darker and darker. And there was this, just before they took to the stage, this tension among the audience, because, it was getting darker. It was the first black metal band to play at Copenhagen. A lot of the audience had never seen a black metal band before, I think. And then you got it, Immortal, from the notorious black metal scene from Norway. And then they took to the stage, and they were the least black metal band ever. They were having fun on stage. It was Abath was still in the band at that point. They had their corpse paint, but he was making faces. They were smiling throughout the entire show. So that was very interesting. They did great, fantastic performance for sure. And I think the last, although I have more concerts that are favorite concerts of mine, the last one I'm gonna mention is Napalm Death, also at Copenhagen. And that was the first Copenhagen 2, I think. And they played on the small stage because they're Napalm Death. They don't need a large stage. And they didn't have their own gear, so they had borrowed Concra's gear, which was very nice of Concra. They played on the small stage, and it was just like watching, not musicianship wise, but it was like watching kind of like an underground amateur band, what they did on stage between the songs. Like they just had to tune the guitar and check whether it sounded right. So that was great, and they performed. The performance was fantastic, and Barney looked like he was fighting a ghost on stage throughout the entire show, and it was very intense. And what I liked was that kind of towards the middle of the show, the songs got shorter and shorter. They started playing a lot of those old grindcore songs, and it became more and more and more intense. And then the climax was "You Suffer," and then they moved on to playing some newer material. That's a fantastic show. I really enjoyed watching them. So I have so many favorite concerts I've seen live that I can't do a top whatever. Some bands I would really like to see live. Bandmate, of course, because they put on a fantastic show. So I would definitely love to see them live, and that is still possible. I would also love to see Maximum the Hormone live, because their concerts are crazy and they're almost like participatory theater. So it's almost like, I don't know, pro wrestling. And Nemophila as well, because they're just amazing musicians. I would like to see Exodus with Zetro. I've never seen them with Zetro. I've seen them with Rob Dukes, but never with Zetro. I'd love to see that. I would love to have seen Motley Crue in their heyday, back in the late 80s, early 90s. That would have been fun. I don't want to now, the stage they're in now. Vince Neil, who can barely sing. Mick Mars isn't even in the band anymore. All the playback, no thanks. But from the heyday, that would have been awesome. So there are lots of bands I would like to have seen live for sure. But there you go, I've mentioned some of them. I also just want to mention some of the more insane concert experience I've had. I was once at a concert in somebody's living room. There was basically a party, and they had rented this house and they were moving out, so they booked a death metal band to play a concert in their living room, and while all the guests in the audience could just trash the room, and I was in that band. That was a very interesting experience for sure. I have two crazy stories about an old kind of hard rock band in Odense called Courage or Courage. So they were kind of a hard rock band, while most of the scene at the time were kind of like extreme metal bands and thrash and all that stuff. They played old school hard rock. So they were more like the band for the biker crowd. And I don't remember how, but at some point, some friends and I ended up at a party they threw in their rehearsal space, and they played like a 2-set concert, and the audience was just like, bikers and people you would find in back alleys, and biker chicks, whatever you call them. And it was because I wasn't used to that crowd. And there was, at some point, I was standing in front of a fridge in the rehearsal room, and there was a big, massive biker who at some point said, "I need a beer from that fridge, you're in my way." So he basically grabbed me, lifted me up, moved me to the side, put me down, opened the fridge, took out a beer, and then he grabbed me, lifted me up, put me back in front of the fridge where I was hanging out, and then he did this "good boy" or something like that. That was interesting. I think we left immediately after they had finished the second set of that show. And another crazy concert experience with that band was, it was in a place called Badstuen. That's another kind of local venue in Odense, where there was this guy who had pissed off a massive massive big muscular dude, and the big dude was chasing him around in the audience, and the small annoying guy at some point figured, you know what, I'm gonna go on stage, I'm safe. So he ran on stage. The big guy went on stage, sucked him in the face, punched him, knocked him out, and said, "That'll teach you a lesson." And then he got off stage, and the band were just like, "Yeah, whatever, we're used to this, apparently." And then after that song, they just said, "Hey, if you want to fight inside, go outside." And then they laughed and they played the next show. So that was a very different crowd from the usual kind of, underground extreme metal crowd. Another crazy experience from back in the day, there was this band called Trend. They played kind of funk groove metal. And what they would do is they would pick out somebody from the audience, and we've seen them tons of times. Pick somebody out from the audience and handcuff them in a pit on stage, and then they would just force them to drink vodka and alcohol and stuff like that. And normally it went fine. The person, it was consensual and all that stuff, and the person chained, handcuffed under the stage, had a great time. But the last time they did it, the guy started puking all over the place, so they uncuffed him, and he just disappeared. And later we heard stories about a naked guy running around on the highway. Somehow he made it out to the highway, and that was that guy. That was crazy. They stopped doing that after that show. Crazy for sure. Our last, not that crazy experience, but Furious Trauma, they played a lot of gigs in my town at the day, and at one of the concerts we were up front at an angle where we could see the set list. So whenever they were just about to introduce the next song, we would shout out the title. So the singer would go, "The next song is called," and then we would shout out the title, and he would say, "Yeah." And towards the end of the show, he would just go, "What is the title of our next song?" And he would make us say it, or the next song is called, and he would make us say it. And then I think in the last song, they got us on stage, and as a punishment, we were forced to stand on stage and be choir girls and just do this throughout the entire song. So yeah, lots of fun at those underground gigs for sure. So I think I've been babbling on enough about concerts and stuff. Do check out Jason SKilz channel, Noise JAson SKilz. Awesome DJ stuff he does as well, and just a great channel, and nice guy as well. So there you go. Thanks for watching.